on Libya to understand why they are refusing to recognize the rebels who are now controlling much of Libya. Our guests tonight, Honorable Hassan Kaps Fungaroho, Shadow Minister of Defense, also Member of Parliament for Obongi. He's on his way to this place. I'll introduce him when he comes in. Our second guest is Mr. Foreign Affairs Minister Sam just had indicated to Parliament that Uganda knew that Uganda was president of that, and that to expand this plan, Uganda cannot support the unity. So we'll be asking for what is Mr. Chief, welcome. Thank you. Why did they use the new leader? That's a very simple way of looking at things. Because, as we may or may not know, Brother Leader Gaddafi invested much more money in the West than in any other country, than in Africa. Because we are informed that Brother Leader invested $30 billion in the West and $20 billion in not to mention what he has in France, Italy, Switzerland, and so forth. That is not Gaddafi's personal money. The money of the Libyan government that he has invested in banks. Now, these banks are not following Islamic banking where they don't take interest. These banks take interest and they make huge profits from this. So they are beneficial. So you cannot say that because Africa, because of some money or some assistance Gaddafi has given, that's why they are doing this. Africa is basing its position on principle, not on mercenary motive. In case there's any mercenary motive, I assure you, the agents, those people where you give most money, that they want to take Libyan money without the consent of the person who put it there in the first instance. $30 billion in the United States, $20 billion in the United Kingdom, and then I'm sure many billions in Switzerland, and many billions elsewhere in Western Europe and so forth. So, the African Union, when it was being formed, or to put it differently, the organization before the African Union was called the Organization of African Unity, or the OAU. It had 2 or 3 core objectives. One was to safeguard Africa's independence, because we have been colonized. Unlike many other countries elsewhere, we have been colonized. Yes. We have suffered slavery, and we have suffered all manner of subjugation and humiliation by external forces, powerful external forces, in the name of either the civilizing mission or whatever it's called. Blacks in America and so forth, or Usain Bolt and all, they didn't go there by voluntary migration. They were forced, they went on slave ships. And then there was slavery, there was colonialism also. Very inhumane and very dehumanizing experiences. So, the Organization of African Unity was formed to ensure that the independence we had secured was safeguarded. And secondly, at that moment in time, there were countries that were still colonized, like Guinea-Bissau and Cape Verde, like Angola, like Mozambique, like Zimbabwe, like Namibia, like South Africa. So there was a threat of the colonial or the residue colonial forces that could again come and attack. I mean, Lumumba was killed hardly a year during independence by some of these Western forces through the UN again. It's the UN forces that captured Lumumba and gave him Mobutu and Shombe and Kasabubu in Qatar, and they killed him and put his body in acid. So that was why the AU was formed. Now the AU came into being after the complete decolonization of Africa, when South Africa got its liberation in 1996. And one of the tenets of the AU is to promote democracy and good governance on this continent. And even some of the principles of international law, like non-interference, are questioned by the AU. Non-interference into the internal affairs of a sovereign state are questioned by the AU.
Yes.
For instance, no country after the formation of the AU that has ever had a military coup has been accepted to be a member state of the AU.
Yes.
And there have been coups in Niger, there have been coups in, I think, Togo, or Madagascar. Madagascar is not now a fully fledged member of the AU. A DJ, through wall internal efforts, there was no fly zone and NATO planes. A DJ with through an internal revolution with its own momentum, took over some president who was giving away concessions to Western companies, I think land and so forth. And this man, but because of the manner in which he came to power, the AU put sanctions on him. So the AU is saying that the manner in which these rebels are coming to power is dubious and questionable. It's not because they don't like it, it's the manner. And it's not just something specific on these rebels. I've given you other examples. In Togo, in Guinea, in Madagascar, similar sanctions have been put in place against those countries. In Lesotho, when the military attempted to overthrow an elected government, in fact, South Africa intervened under Mandela as president, and so forth. Nigeria has intervened in a number of countries that have attempted. Obasanjo put pressure on a number of countries that in the Western Africa that came to power illegitimately. Because the question is, how legitimate is this?
Yes.
Now the AU is saying, the African Union is saying that look, because of the complexity of the problem, the best way forward is inclusivity.
Yes.
Is to include all parties.
Yes.
Assuming Gaddafi and his group are Libyans.
Well, we believe there.
I'm certain there.
Yes.
And that they have a following.
Yes.
Otherwise, Citre would have followed.
His back.
Without a fight.
Gaddafi's birthplace, yes.
I mean, he has to be born somewhere.
Tribal leaders are protected. Wow.
Whoever is protecting him, whether it's clanmate or supporters, I mean, we haven't done a study to verify. But the point is that Citre is and NATO planes. Now the assumption again is that in Citre, Gaddafi has support.
Yes.
Now, which citizens are NATO protection in Citre when they are coming in Citre? If, as you have put it, that is Gaddafi's tribe, when they are bombing Citre, which civilians are being protected?
Okay.
Then there is the problem of the resolution of the United Nations.
Yes. 1973,
which says that there should be a no-fly zone. But we have read and reread that text. There is nowhere that they cite or the legitimized regime change. Clearly, these rebels would never have taken over an inch of Libya without NATO airplanes. Even now, today, when they have been in Qatar, they have pleaded with NATO to maintain its presence in Libya.
So let's get the point clear here. These rebels are nationals of Libya. They have sponsored an insurrection. They've got support from the skies. Now they've taken over
NATO.
The AU is going to become irrelevant. The UN will recognize the Libya. The AU is going to be. You don't even have money to run the AU.
Not at all. Let me remind you, Mr.
Libya is much richer than many.
Let me remind you. Well, I mean, because somebody is rich, that should not make him act like a boy in a China shop and just applaud when they are doing an illegitimate, illegal whatever.
Yes.
Because it is not for the first time that the African people have stood against Western powers on matters of principle.
But let's get it clear.
No, in the 60s.
Yes.
Western governments recognized South Africa, apartheid South Africa was a member of the United Nations.
Yes.
You may or may not know. It was.
It was, yes.
And Western governments had embassies in Pretoria.
Yes.
The AU refused to recognize apartheid South Africa.
Yes.
Out of principle. We didn't have money. And we were proven right. Mr. Nelson Mandela was viewed as a terrorist by the Western countries. Thatcher himself and Reagan called him a terrorist.
Now Thatcher lives in South Africa.
Margaret Thatcher. Yes. So the point really is that such principled stances based on noble objectives, on principles really,
yes.
It's not new, and it should not shake us as Africans to side what is right. We are not saying that Gaddafi is an angel, but these rebels, who are they? Some people are saying that they are Al-Qaeda. The second in command of Al-Qaeda was a Libyan. He was killed over the weekend. That may have followed or may not have followed.
He was killed, yes.
And Libyans constitute one of the biggest numbers of activists in Al-Qaeda. Algeria has refused to recognize this government. And Algeria is saying that it's Al-Qaeda that has taken over Libya. I'm sure Algeria as neighbors, I'm sure Algeria as a country that has ever had an insurrection influenced by Al-Qaeda has a good idea about what it's talking about.
So what does the AU want to happen? You want Gaddafi to be plucked out of the hole where he's hiding?
Not at all.
Installed in power in his bombed out palace?
That's not what the AU is saying.
And the inauguration ceremony, heads of state flock there on one Sunday.
The AU is saying that now, look, because we recognize that certain things have changed.
Yes.
Gaddafi for sure is not in charge.
The rats have chased him out of his palace and other places.
Look, people call their enemies all kinds of names. But now, Gaddafi is not in charge. But that said, if I'm to paraphrase what the Libyan leader said in Qatar today, he says Gaddafi is a threat. That's what he says. And because he thinks Gaddafi is a threat,
yes,
he was kneeling down and begging the West to keep its presence in Libya. NATO.
Yes.
Not the UN, but NATO.
What's wrong with that? Well, he could become a terrorist like Al-Qaeda. He could sponsor terrorism.
That means that Gaddafi is a factor. That is what it means. And also, it means that without NATO, those rebels, as you have called them, won't be in Tripoli.
Well, maybe.
But now that said, what's important, if we agree that Gaddafi is a Libyan, if we agree that even the rebels aren't democrats, are you aware that they are killing black Africans and black Libyans because they think they're Muslim?
Well, there's been reports to that effect.
There's a pogrom. What a revolution that is. A xenophobic pogrom.
Well, but the AU has been dragging its feet.
On what?
Gaddafi said he was going to kill his own countrymen. The AU said, oh, let's polish our shoes, we'll show up at some stage.
No,
then NATO moved in to protect the people.
No. The AU talked about dialogue. The AU talked about inclusivity. The AU talked about a roadmap that leads to democratization. But democratization of all actors being involved in an inclusive arrangement. Not an arrangement like the one that was imposed on Iraq that caused problems.
Yes.
Was it called de-Baathification, whatever it was called by the Bush regime?
Well, it failed. Most people.
Well, it caused more problems than they had anticipated. So that is not the way forward. For example, in Zimbabwe, Mr. Smith was not excluded by the Thatcher, by the Western countries. Or the National Party in South Africa of the Boers was not excluded, and they have done even worse crimes than Mr. Gaddafi.
So what's the way? How do you like them to be included?
Inclusivity. Form a government of national unity, and based on that, follow a roadmap that leads to democratization, that includes, amongst others, drafting and debating a democratic constitution.
What kind of inclusion are you looking at? 50-50, Gaddafi?
No, those are details. I'm not here.
Well, let's get an outline.
No. It's for them to decide.
You drew the example of Iraq. They left out one side and they caused problems. What about here? There are no tribes that are being left out specifically. What kind of inclusiveness are you looking at? Gaddafi sends his son to negotiate.
No,
his son is
they have
not
refused.
prime minister.
They have refused. They have left out Gaddafi's people. And Gaddafi has been ruling Libya for 40 years. I'm sure he's been living in Libya.
42 years.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yes.
So why don't you want him to be brought back? And what position do you want him to
It's
have?
not me who wants. It's it's Africa who
paint
wants.
us a picture. You are in Addis Ababa.
It's
Give us
it's
an
Africa
idea.
that wants all Libyans, not just Gaddafi, all Libyans, including Gaddafi's faction or Gaddafi's group, to be part and parcel of that, of crafting out a way forward for Libya.
So Libya has no crime Gaddafi has no crime to answer to.
I'm certain it's even likely that Gaddafi as a person never killed a person. As a person.
Well, like
now the man who heads the so-called National Transition Council was a senior minister in Gaddafi's government.
Yes.
So are they all? Our Gaddafi's many of the people in that council, the rebels, were former generals, former intelligence chiefs of Gaddafi.
Your question has already been answered. They are already inclusive.
So those people, those people,
already an inclusive
those people
TNC.
may also have blood on their hands. So why are they being feted in the West and others are being vilified? So because we should have some whatever. We should have a transparent. If people have committed crimes, should be. I mean, everybody should be put to account. Not just Gaddafi, because Gaddafi could have killed these people alone. Just like you can't say Hitler did everything.
So Gaddafi should not die alone. Should not be punished alone.
I'm not saying that. If there's justice of that nature, it must be uniform. It must be free and it must be fair for everybody.
So if he goes to the ICC, he doesn't go alone.
Oh, that's another question. But the last time, before I came here, I followed that there are more people dying in Syria than in Libya.
Yes.
And how come Mr. Ocampo is not, or the West are not imposing a no-fly zone if they are very human rights focused? How come Mr. Assad is not receiving the same kind of, NATO or whatever? Or how come Mr. Ocampo is not giving whatever to the Syrian leadership?
Well, two wrongs don't make a right. Let's focus on Libya.
Well, but I mean, what's good for the goose should be good for the gander.
Well, but at the moment, we have a situation in Libya. We're trying to get an answer. What should be Gaddafi's role? He should be taking. There's a $1 million
AU roadmap.
bounty on
the AU roadmap should be followed.
What
the AU roadmap involves, one, an inclusive arrangement.
They're already inclusive.
No. Those rebels with
former Justice Minister
with whatever composition, Al Qaeda, monarchists, and so forth. Well, those are okay. That is their group, but even Gaddafi's group should be part of that because they are Libyans and they are actors. And since the rebels can't fight them alone, they must have a following. That's why Sisi is not following, for example. Two, after that, the AU roadmap talks about making a national constitution, a new democratic constitution.
Yes.
Three, preparing for elections, and then having elections, and then you have a new Libya for all, without people being excluded.
What do you mean being excluded? Even the people who are charged with Ocampo, who went and investigated and he found some people guilty.
No, those who have crimes, fine, but I mean, you can't say everybody. Otherwise, Jibril, who is heading the National Transition Council, will not be there because he was a very senior minister in Gaddafi's government for 42 years.
But some people will say the AU is making a storm in a teacup because these people are already inclusive. Who are they leaving out anyway? They're not leaving out anyone.
No. Some people might even. The fact is that, look, the fact of the matter is that inclusivity is based on very subjective grounds. What's required? If they are inclusive, why is there a war in Libya? So are they fighting against?
Well, there's a small pocket of rebellion, 5%, maybe 1%.
Then why is Jibril begging NATO to retain its presence in Libya?
Well, because rebels could come from anywhere.
Not at all. Yeah, rebels. There have been rebels in Uganda. How come the government never called for example, NATO? Or there have been rebels. There are rebels in many countries. I mean, there are rebels, and then or Sri Lanka. So the point is that these rebels are externally driven. For sure, there are grievances. For sure, they have made mistakes. I'm not saying it's an angel, but I mean, that's not an unusual occurrence in the world. Try to resolve an intractable problem like this through certain mechanisms. And the AU's roadmap is the best way forward rather than bombing people for the sake of it.
What would Gaddafi's position be there?
That is for him to say. I'm not a Libya.
And why won't Uganda give him asylum? The man is fleeing, running out.
I'm sure Uganda won't refuse him asylum in case he asks for it. But he has not asked for asylum. Why do you grant somebody asylum who does not want asylum? Who has not asked for it?
Well, but some people say African leaders are spooked because the rebels, they're not sure if the rebels will give them money the way Gaddafi has been giving them money.
No.
Maybe they want the rebels to come and say, we shall give you.
No, that's very...
That's
quite... that's not true. That's being very economical with the truth. Because, look, Africa has principles.
Yes.
And, look, for example, let me give you...
you stick to your friends.
Not necessarily. We stick to principles. Let me tell you something.
That is a principle.
Mr. Gaddafi did fund many countries' subscription to the African Union.
Yes.
But the President of Uganda refused that donation. He refused it.
Yes.
And he said that Uganda would fund its presence in its membership in the African Union.
Yes.
That it must come from our sweat. And he refused it. Not that they're rich, but out of principle. Look, Mr. Museveni, or the government of Uganda, has, we are not just dancing with Gaddafi's tunes. Mr. Gaddafi, for example, came up with a vision of African government now.
Yes.
And it is President Museveni in the African Union
who opposed him
and told him, look, that's a good idea. But the best way forward to get it is to go through regional blocks. And there was a great debate between Mr. Gaddafi and President Museveni on that issue. So you can't say that there have been people in the bedfellows, whatever. No. Or that Mr. Museveni likes him so much. No. But these are matters of principle.
Principle, you stick with the friends. That's also a principle.
Not at all. Gaddafi's best friends were the West, where he has saved $30 billion in the United States, $20 billion in the UK. Those are his best friends.
Well, the bank doesn't become your friend because you kept money there, does it?
I'm sure the bank manager would smile all the time and sees you when you bank $20 billion in his bank.
Well, listeners, this is Spectrum on Radio 1. Tonight, the African Union stand on Libya. Are African leaders right not to recognize the revolutionaries? Our guests tonight, Honorable Hassan Kaps Fungaroho, Shadow Minister of Defense, also Member of Parliament for Obongi. You're most welcome, Honorable.
Thank you. Thank you very much, my dear moderator and colleague.
It's just
yeah, thank you.
Our second guest is Mr. Chief. We're going for a break. We'll be back. Then you hear from us a little bit about this issue. Stay with us.
Let's show you how to multiply your savings, starting with the cash beneath the mattress to the savings in the bank that aren't making money. Let's turn your savings into some things with Super Save Reloaded. Super Save Reloaded brings you savings and investment accounts which offer you a sure and predictable way to multiply your savings. For more information about Super Save Reloaded, ask at your nearest Stanbic Bank branch.
Stanbic Bank, moving forward.
Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90 is brought to you by Stanbic Bank.
Welcome back on Spectrum tonight. The African Union stand on Libya. Are African leaders right not to recognize the revolutionaries? Our guests, Mr. Nyago, Deputy Principal Private Secretary to the President, fresh from Addis Ababa. Also, Mr. Honorable Hassan Kaps Fungaroho, Shadow Minister of Defense, also Member of Parliament for Obongi. Honorable Fungaroho, the AU says the rebels are not legitimate. What should be happening in Libya now, according to you?
Yeah, thank you very much. First of all, I apologize for arriving late. A number of factors, breaking the fast,
the
Museveni jam. So this delayed. All the same, listeners, I thank you for tuning in. I am a Pan-Africanist. I'm also in the opposition, and I'm a member of the Committee for Defense and Internal Affairs, therefore a person of defense. So I'm going to talk from the perspective of defending Africa, the African Union point of view, also as a Pan-Africanist, and also as a person from the opposition, because the rebels are coming from the direction of opposition, opposing a regime that is yes. So what is in Libya?